Number 5 is alive. Here we go. I've added all the written information for this week as well as the steps into the checklist. So if you downloaded the link to those in week 1 and if you go to them now, then you can follow along with me. If you didn't download them, then you can do that by going to the description of this video and signing up for them there. The Kindle version of the written document is also available for anyone who prefers that over a PDF. The Kindle version can also work on an iPhone and an Android phone. Unfortunately, Amazon won't allow me to put it on there for free, so it will be the lowest price that is possible given the size of the document. Just a reminder of why I'm teaching you everything that I know that I do for my clients that works. It's because I want to pay forward the help that was given to me in the past. If you have been finding these videos useful, then please like the videos. Also, please share them with any business owners you know who have a local business where they want people from their local area, or anyone who has an online store. You never know how useful they might find it too. Firstly, a summary of what we covered in week 4. We were checking for any website errors and issues, so I showed you how to connect all the different webmaster tools. We looked at domain history. We looked at HTTPS and if your site was secure. We then looked at HTTP, HTTPS, and the www dot with the non-www dot and the redirects to see if those were actually working. And then finally, we looked at the website speed and what you could do to fasten that up. A reminder again of how much time you would like to invest in SEO and what kind of value that's going to bring to your website. So if you are able to do 2 hours a week, then effectively you're investing $1,000 a month of SEO into your website. In a competitive industry where you have more than 10 people competing for your keywords, you may need to do SEO for like 2 to 4 hours a week forever. But in a non-competitive industry where you've got less than 10 people competing for your keywords, then you can get away with a lot less time investment, and you could even possibly stop SEO at some point in time and see how you go and then maybe restart it again, or maybe just spend 1 month out of every year doing some extra SEO on your site. Let's talk about preparing your site for the vital on-site SEO that we're going to do in coming weeks. So this week, the whole aim really is just to prepare your site for what's coming next. There might be things that you actually need a web developer to install for you. So if you can contact your web developer as soon as possible and get these installed, then we'll be ready when we need to start for that next week. So the 6 things that we're going to look at today are the SEO plugins on your website and what you might need, your website settings, blog design and the links to your blog, 404 pages, any theme pages or images that might be causing issues, and then we're going to scrape the site to get all your current pages with their SEO titles and descriptions. So the first thing we're looking at is SEO plugins. Now, it says every CMS, but most CMSs have some kind of SEO functionality. So some of them, like Squarespace, Wix, or maybe a web developer custom platform, will have a few sort of standard things that are in there that you can use for SEO. In other CMSs like WordPress, Joomla, Shopify, you actually have what's called plugins to choose from. Now, plugins are really just a piece of extra code that goes into the website to give it some extra functionality. Okay, so if you want to find out if your site does have any plugins, if you are in WordPress, you would come down on this sidebar here and you can see that it has a section here called plugins. And so you would click in there. And it would be the same on any other kind of system that you're on. You'd be going in there and seeing, does the site have the option to have plugins, things that can be installed on the site. So if you do not have a CMS with these plugin options, so if you have something like Squarespace, Wix, or some other platform where there is no plugins, you can't go into the back end and see plugins, then you can skip this and you can go to part B. If your site does have plugin options, then there's a few things that we're going to do. We're going to check if your site has the SEO plugins that we're going to look at next, or some kind of equivalent. And then the other thing is that we're going to get a web developer to install them. Now you can do it yourself, but sometimes installing plugins can crash a website. So, that's happened to me. It isn't very nice. So what you want to do is make sure that you either have some kind of backup that can be reinstalled if there is a problem, or be willing to take the risk that it might happen. And otherwise, you can get a web developer to do it in some kind of controlled environment so they can fix the site straight away if there's a problem. So I'm going to run through some recommended plugins for WordPress, because that's the CMS that I have the most experience with. If you want me to investigate similar plugins on some other platform, then just put a comment in YouTube for me. But in most cases, you can use what I'm going to talk about here to find some kind of similar plugin in your system, whatever system it is, if it allows plugins. So the first thing is that we want some kind of dedicated SEO plugin. So the plugin that I've been using for years is Yoast SEO. So that's a plugin that I know really well, exactly sort of how it works in and out. However, there is a new SEO plugin, Rank Math, that I've had a look at, which looks excellent. I don't currently have any clients that are on this, but it is something that I hope to use in the future. I might even use it on my own website. And I'll add in information about Rank Math over time into the documents once I work out how that works and learn more about it. The second plugin that can be incredibly useful for SEO is having some kind of 301 redirect plugin. So the plugin that I get installed is Redirection. And basically a 301 redirect is when you ask Google to redirect one URL to another. So it's kind of like when you change address, you move to a different home. You had your street address, and then you go to the post office and you tell the post office, I want all my mail to go to my new address. That's pretty much what you're telling Google. This used to be my website and now it's going to be another one. So eventually my website here, Fruitful Online, is going to redirect over to my new site, largehope.com. So in the future, if you ever try to go to this URL, then it will take you here instead. So that will be what will be called a 301 redirect. And then every single page on here will redirect to the equivalent on the other site. So I've already done that for some of them. So if we go to the About page on my Fruitful Online and we try and click on About, it'll actually take us to the Large Hope website. So you can see now that it took us there. So that is called a 301 redirect. So this is a plugin that I personally use to do all the redirects on my client site, this particular one. And more recently, they have enabled it so that if someone changes a URL on a website, that it will automatically redirect it to the new version. Okay, so the third plugin that I find very useful is Broken Link Checker. So that will actually tell you if there's some link on your website that is no longer working. So if we go to this page here and just say, this bit here is currently a link. If that was no longer working, then it might have like a cross through it to say that it's not working, but it would also give me a notification. So over here, when I go into the back end of my site and I go down to tools, I can see that it's already telling me that I have 3 broken links. And so then I can go in here and work out what's happening and why these are broken links. So it might be that it's saying on my giving back page that this is no longer a link. So what I can do is I can go to this page and I can view it and see if I can find where I've got that green piece link. Usually it will have a cross through it, but this time it's not putting a cross through it, so that's not really helping me. Depends on the theme, I suppose. So in this case, then I don't want to unlink it, but I'm going to edit the URL and see if I can actually find out on their real site what the real one is. So let's see, does that work? No. So now Greenpeace has actually changed their website by the looks of it. So instead of having that on it, they don't anymore. So basically I'm just going to say, okay, well look, I just want to use that bit then. And Greenpeace is now HTTPS. So I'm actually going to change the link to that, update it. And now I can say recheck. And look, sometimes it will say that there is some kind of internal server error. Okay, so for some reason, it seems like the link may actually now be this. So we're going to go back into the broken links. We're going to edit it. See if this one works. Update it. And then we should be able to recheck. And that one's saying that that's okay. So now we can dismiss it. So then again, you would just go through the other ones and see, you know, what's wrong with them and why they're not working and fix them up. Then we've got a social sharing plugin. So on your blog posts, what you want for other people to be able to share your blog posts from your blog. And so this plugin enables you to do that. So if we go to this blog on my old website, WordPress SEO tips, and then if you come down here, you'll see I've got these sharing buttons. So someone can click on this and share it on Facebook. Click on that, share it on Twitter, etc., etc. So sometimes your website will have this ability built into it. Other times you need to add it in. And so if you don't have that facility on your website, then this is a plugin that you can get the web developers to install for you. Now these are some plugins that we've already mentioned and you've already obviously gone through this because by now you'd have Google Analytics on your website. We did that in week 1. And then we've got this easy HTTPS redirection. And so that's what we did last week. So you would be able to check and see if those are working for you. Then we've got schema plugins. So if your site has products or recipes on it, then you might want to consider installing some of these, and you might want to talk to your web developer to see if they have one that they recommend. This is an example of one that does multiple things. However, if you needed a plugin that was just specifically for products, or maybe one that was just specifically for recipes, then there might be one that's even better that just does those things. Schema for local business is really just what we went through in some of the previous weeks on the contact page. So it's pretty easy for you to just add in your business name, your address, your phone number. You can even get a web developer to add in the schema for you. That's pretty simple to do. But there are plugins that are for local business. And with my understanding is that Rank Math actually has some schema included. And so that might actually provide an all-in-one option for you. So the key message is that these plugins can significantly help your SEO efforts. So you want to make sure that you have them or some kind of an equivalent, but be careful installing them yourself because they can crash your website. If you don't know what you're doing, then definitely get a web developer to do that for you. So in part B, we're going to look at your other website settings. So most of the website backends, CMSs will have some kind of settings. So you want to make sure that whatever settings there are in your CMS, that you go through and set up the sections in there. Now I'm going to run through it for WordPress, but if you have a different CMS, then you can always ask me to look into it for you. Just put something in the video comments. So for WordPress, what I highly recommend is checking and editing these settings in WordPress. And like I said, Your system might have similar ones, and so you can use this as a checklist. So in WordPress, there's this section here. It looks like this. If you go into the live site, it's actually on this sidebar over here, and it's way down here, settings, and then you've got all the different sections under that. So the first one we're going to have a look under is settings and general. So in there, the key critical parts are the bits where you have your email address, and then some other information down here about the site language and your time zone. So you want to make sure that your email address is set to an email address where you can actually receive emails. The site language, you want it to be in your language. So you can have English United States, English UK, there's a whole English Australia, there's a whole range of different English options, and that you set the time zone to your country or region. So if your CMS has these options, then that's what you want to do. Anything that you can do to help target your website to the people who you want to see the site is definitely worth doing. The second section is in the writing settings. So if you're planning to have a blog, what happens in WordPress is that it will automatically put it as uncategorized. And so I usually change the uncategorized category so that it is blog. So that when you go into the writing settings, you've got the default post category as blog. So to be able to change that, there's a few things that you need to do. So you can change it by going to your dashboard and then posts and categories. So that would be up here. You go to the dashboard and then you go to posts and then you go to categories. And then in there, you can see that there is an uncategorized category. And if I don't really want that to be uncategorized, then I can go into quick edit it. And instead, I'm going to call that blog and blog and update that. And then if I go back into the settings section, so my default category is now blog. So this is what I just showed you how to do. You edit the category, you put in blog there, and then blog is the slug. Another one of the settings is the reading setting. So you go into settings, reading, and in here, you want to make sure that this box down here that says search engine visibility is unticked. So here, you only want to tick this if you want to block your site from Google. So if your website is live and you want people to actually find it, then you want that unticked. This should be ticked when the website is being developed. And sometimes I've seen cases of where when the website has gone live, that has stayed ticked. And so that has meant that the website has been totally blocked from Google. So you just want to make sure that that bit is unticked on your site. And if you don't have WordPress, you want to make sure that your website is set to index so that it's fully visible. Now this is something that we actually checked in week 1 when I asked you to go and do this test, which is the site colon and then whatever your domain name is. And so in this instance, it's saying that I have 8 results, which is correct, because I've only just started to create this site and to transfer the content across from the other site. So by doing this check in week 1, we should have discovered if there was a problem and it should be fixed by now. But this is another way that you can just double check. And if you don't have WordPress, again, this is a way that you can double check. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the discussion settings. So when you go into the discussion settings, it will look something like this. Now, if you're in some kind of an industry where there's going to be real people that are likely to leave real comments on a blogs, then you can set it so that the comments must be approved, manually approved, like this. What I have discovered over the last 10 years is that the comment section is often a place where you get lots and lots of spam. And so for the majority of my local business websites where people just don't ever comment on blogs apart from spam, So I usually change it so that the comments are not an option, and then I would untick those boxes there. You can override it for individual articles if you want people to comment on a specific article. So in here, for myself, right now, I don't really want people to comment on articles. It's just another area where I would have to go and read things and check on things. Instead, what I want is for people to use YouTube to put all the comments in there so that it makes it super easy for me to be able to answer them back. So I'm going to untick that. I don't want anyone leaving those comments. If I did override it for an individual post, then I always want to make sure that the comment is manually approved and that I'm given like notification so that I'm emailed whenever someone does one of these. So the next section is the setting in permalinks. Now I need to give you a big warning here. Do not change this unless you're willing to redirect every current post on your site to the new URL that it's going to create. So you could lose significant traffic and rankings if you change these permalink settings without redirecting the old to new URLs. So if you're not confident in doing that, and if you're not sure what I mean there, so if you've got like 100 posts on your site, you're going to make sure you have to know what the old URL, what the new URL is, and then have that set up to send to your web developer to do all the redirects, or for you to manually do them in the redirection plugin that we were talking about earlier. This is how I'm going to show you how I set it up. If the website has like 10 to 20 blogs or more, and you have at least 2 to 3 blogs under each category, then I ideally use category post name as this custom structure here. So you can see it there, category post name. Now we're going to talk about this in future weeks, and so you might want to hold off and not do anything, not change anything right now until you see what we're going to do in the next future weeks. So we might come back to this later. But a quick example of that is that if I have a website where they've got yourdomain.com and then, you know, the artificial grass page is a service page, then I will create a category that's artificial grass as well. And then when we put the post in there, we're going to have it as great for allergy prevention as the URL for the post, and so then it will create this whole URL, and then it's going to silo every single post that we put in this category underneath the actual service page for artificial grass. If your site only has a few blog posts and the blogs are on topics that are different from all the service pages on your site, then you can still keep it as sort of post name. That would be fine. It would save the hassle and it might get you better results. Or if you have an online store with only a few posts, then the structure with just the permalinks might be fine as well. And then you could change it in the future if you decide you're going to actually do lots of posts. Remember that you'll need to do the redirects. But in general, it's fine for an online store to have the post name or this way, but usually for a local business that has a lot of posts, we would put it this way, and for a local business that only has a couple of posts, we would put it this way as well. So that's setting permalinks, and that is what this looks like. Then we're going to put category and post name in there. Then we've got the settings privacy, which is a relatively new one. So if we come down here, we click on privacy. And it actually gives you the option to use like the privacy policy that is already on the website, or you can create your own page with your own privacy policy if you don't already have one. So really the key takeaway message is that WordPress gives you a variety of settings that can help SEO and conversions, and you might as well use them just to get even a tiny advantage. And whatever CMS you're using is probably going to have similar things that you can go in and you can set those up just to give you even, you know, even a very small advantage. It all adds up. In part C, we're going to talk about your blog design and links that are going to your blog. So again, I want to cover this now because it's something that you might need to get your web developer to help you with. So you might as well get your web developer to do a whole stack of stuff all at once if they need to. So just write down a whole list of things for them that you want them to do. Okay, so the blog design. So the first thing I want to have a look at is, well, what is the aim of having blogs on a website that is a local business website or an online store? There's really two different kinds of blogs on these websites. One of them is what I would call an SEO blog. And the whole aim of that is that you really want to cast this wider net. So what you're doing is you're creating a blog post on about keywords that people are searching for, that are providing useful information. And then these posts are going to bring people to the website from a Google search. Now, people tend to read the blog post and then contact the business about the service or buy the products. That's the aim of this kind of blog, that you're trying to attract people who are searching in Google, going to come to your website, they're going to read the blog, and then they're going to actually buy your services or products. So usually within these blogs, there's some kind of link to a service that is relevant to that blog, or there is a link to a product, or the product is even embedded in the blog itself. The second option is if it's a social media blog, maybe what we might call a PR blog. And the aim with these is to write some kind of engaging post on a topic that people, and this is the critical bit, may or may not be searching for. The aim is to create something that can be shared on social media because it's topical, it's interesting, but it might not be something that anyone will ever go to Google and search for. So they see it on social media, they click on it, and then they're taken to the website. And then they're going to read the post, and then they're going to contact the business, or they're going to buy a product. So both of them, the aim is you want them to contact the business or buy a product. So you want to write interesting and compelling information that leads to inquiries and sales. But one of them is written based on keywords that people are searching for in Google. That's the SEO blog. And one of them is written on topics that are more likely to engage on social media that might never get any SEO traffic. But what we find with these kinds of blogs is that the people who see them on social media will often then go and search in Google just to check, I suppose, that it's actually a real business. So these kind of blogs and using social media to promote your business tends to get you more searches in Google. But what we don't want is that we don't want people to get caught reading lots of blogs on your website and then never contact you or buy a product. The aim is to get them to contact you or buy from you, not to get them to read another blog post. So what does that really mean? What that really means is that once they get to your website, we don't want to try and encourage them to go to any other blog on your website. We want to encourage them to buy your services and buy your products. We don't want to send them off to be reading loads and loads more blogs, because that's not the aim of your site, right? So there's certain things that we find as standard on websites that tend to encourage people to just go and read stacks of blogs, and that's not what we want for a local business or an online store. So what I tend to do is remove all the sections on the website theme that would encourage someone to read another blog. And then I replace it with links to the service or product pages. These are your pages where people buy from you. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check your blog format. So we're going to go and have a look at an individual blog post page on your website, but we're also going to be looking at the main blog page. And we're going to see, is there a sidebar? And if there is a sidebar, what does it have on it? Does it have links to your blogs, or does it have a call to action, lists of services, locations, links to products, or if you're an online store, product categories, or whatever is really on the sidebar in the shop or store part of the website. So we'll go and have a look at some examples of that. So on my Fruitful Online website, this is a blog post, and on the blog post sidebar, you won't see any links there that go to my blogs. There's no way that someone can get from this blog to another one of my blogs. I don't want them to go read more blog posts. I want them to, connect to me on social media here. I want them to go to one of my services, etc., etc. Now, if you go to the actual blog page on this website, you'll see that it doesn't have a sidebar at all. Now, when we go to the blog on my personality types website, or if we go to one of the individual blog posts, it has the same sidebar. And so in this case, it does actually have the blog categories on here. And I don't want that on there anymore. It initially was on there because I didn't even have any other content on the site. So there was no service pages or product pages or any other important pages that I could take people to. And so now, however, I don't really want people going to the blog post, because now what I want is for people to go to these other pages on the website that are like the products or service pages. So what I'm going to do is change this on the blog. And also, like if we go and have a look at an individual blog post, you'll see that it also has that there as well. Now in WordPress, it's pretty easy to change that sidebar if the sidebar is set up using the widgets. So under Appearance, if it's using the widgets, and if it's using the menus. So it might be similar in your system. There might be somewhere where you can go in and you can find the sidebar. So you can see here on this, in the widgets section, over here, widgets, it's got the blog sidebar and it's got all the different sections. So if I'm going to take away these blog categories, then it's as easy as just removing that. So now those blog categories won't be there at all, but I want to have a custom menu that is in there instead. And so in that case, I'm going to go over to the menus section, so Appearance, Menus, and I'm going to create what menu that I want on the sidebar. So you can see that in here, it will show you already this is the top menu, and it might be that I want to use that, but it also might be that I don't want to use that because maybe that's a bit too long and it has a whole stack of sections that I don't really want. So therefore, I can go create new menu, and I'm going to call it sidebar, and click on create new menu. So now up here I can select them. I've got a footer, blog categories, sidebar, etc., etc. And then all I need to do to create this menu is go in here and find the pages that I actually want. So what I need to do is tick the boxes. So you can see I've ticked the boxes on the ones that I want to go into the menu. So these for me are the ones that are most likely to actually earn me money if someone goes to those pages. And then I click here on add to menu, and you'll see that it's put all that there. Now then I can go and order that if I want to, in however order that I want that to be. So I'm going to go save menu. And now when I go over to the widget section, I'm going to refresh the page. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to look for the navigation menu. I put it in there, and this time I'm going to select the sidebar, and I'm going to call it, you can call it like services if it was your services, or you can call it like important pages, whatever you want to call it. And then we click save. And now if we go over to the website, we're going to refresh it and we're going to see what happens. So now it's got important pages, and it's got there what I want to have in there. Now look, this doesn't look so good, does it, like that? So I might like reduce how long that is, because it's also a bit long. So I'll go back into the menus, and I'm just going to call, that's just going to be best and worst careers. And this is going to be career, because they know that it's for their personality types. There we go, save that menu. If I want to change the order, then I just hover over that. So just say I want that one up there. And now I'm going to save that menu again. And then we go back over here and refresh the page, and we'll see what it looks like now. Okay, so that looks a little bit better now. So now when anyone comes to a blog post on my website, whereas before it encouraged them to go over to the category and just keep reading more and more and more blogs, now they come to the website and they're like, oh, books, yeah, I want books for my personality type. And then they click on that, and then they get taken to a page where it's got like all the different books for that personality type. And then I could potentially actually earn some income. So that could make a huge difference depending on how many blog posts that you've got on your website. So that's why I highly recommend that if you're a local business, you're going to make sure that the links go to your services if you do have some products as well, but you don't want them to encourage people to go to read more blog posts. If it's an online store, you want them to go to the product categories, whatever is on the sideline of your online store, on the sidebar of your online store. Okay, so then we want to see, do the individual posts have a call to action? So if you're a local business, then you want to make sure that it's encouraging people to call or email you. And if you're an online store, then you want to have some kind of similar products, or people who bought this also bought something else. Or even better, if you can actually embed the product in the blog post. So in this particular blog post, at the end of it, I've actually got see more tips for WordPress, because what I want to do with this particular blog post is send people to my YouTube channel. That's the call to action. That's the action that I want people to take. But if I had wanted them to contact me, just say they had a WordPress website and I wanted them to contact me in order to provide SEO services for them, then I could have had a call to action there saying something along the lines of, if you want more help with your SEO, then please call me or email me and I can help SEO your website, something like that. In the personality types website, at the end of this blog post, the call to action is that they join the mailing list for their personality type. So you always want to have some kind of calls to action at the bottom of your blog posts. And what you can do is you can make that call to action, if it's the same across your whole website, you can get the web developer to code it so that it will do the same thing across your whole website. So I've got 16 different email lists they can join, so I can't put the same thing across the website. But if you obviously only had one contact form, then you might put that one contact form as a standard thing across every single blog on your website. And the third thing then is, what does the main blog page look like? Does it create what's called excerpts of posts, which is like in this image below? it's an excerpt, it's an excerpt. Or does it actually, on the main blog, have the whole blog post and then this whole blog post going down the page? So again, if we go to my Fruitful Online blog, you can see that it does the same thing. It has excerpts, what we call excerpts of the posts. But in some cases, you might go to the blog, and what happens is you'll see this whole blog. And then there'll be another whole blog, and then another whole blog. And you don't want that. You definitely want there to be these like excerpts of your blogs, because otherwise what you're going to have is a whole stack of what's called duplicate content on your website. If Google sees the excerpts of the blog posts, it likes it, but if it doesn't, if it sees sort of the whole blog on there, then you're going to have a problem with the internal duplicate content. You're just going to have the same content repeated over and over and over again. And if you set up tags and categories and they still put the whole blog posts on there, Google just doesn't like it. So just make sure that when you go to your blog page on your website, it looks something like that. If not, then you want to get your web developer to fix that for you. Okay, this is a special thing for WordPress. As a default on WordPress, it creates this post called Hello World. I suppose the reason it's there is that if you're brand new, you'll be able to see kind of what a post look like, but it's not useful for SEO to have that. So if a website does have one of those Hello World posts, then I make sure that I remove that. So you would just go to the post section, which is back up here, and then you want to go in there and go back to where the very first post is, see if it's like Hello World, open it up, because sometimes people use that Hello World post and actually write something in it, and that's fine. But if it just has sort of something that's written in what's called lorem ipsum, which is sort of Latin looking, then you just want to make sure you delete that. The second thing is that we want to remove the links to your blog posts. So we talked a bit about that above when we were looking at the sidebar, and I showed you how I removed the links that were going to my blog from this sidebar and made sure that it goes to important pages on my website where people could buy products or services. The other places that you can find links to your blog where it's not useful might be in the footer or sometimes in the homepage content. So if you go to my website here, what you'll find is that sometimes these links here will say latest blogs, and we don't want that. We don't want someone to come to your website and then go off and read a whole stack of blogs. We want them to go to the important pages. We want them to go to the places where they can actually buy your products and services. And the other thing that happens is that sometimes it's actually in the homepage content. So sometimes you go to the homepage and you'll scroll down and it will have like a blog section. It will have like latest blogs somewhere in here in the homepage. And we don't want that either, because again, it's taking people off. I mean, they've come to the home page of your website. You want people to do what you think is the most important thing once they get to the home page of your website. So on my personalities types website, the most important thing I want them to do is to join their personality mailing list. Because once they join that mailing list, I can give them loads of useful information specifically for their personality type. So if they click on there, they get taken to a page where they can actually sign up to their personality type list. I then have these other pages which have stuff that I don't mind them going to. But again, I'm emphasizing down here, join your personality type list. That's the main thing that I want them to do. I don't mind if they go and do the free tests or something like that. Maybe they need to do a free test in order to find out like what personality type that they are. And that's fine, but that's the whole aim. I do not want them to go off and start reading a whole stack of blog posts. It's the same if you go to my Large Hope website. So we go to the home page, and the thing that I want people to do at the moment if they come here is that they can access a free SEO course. So if they click on here, that's going to start playing the 8-week training, and everything here is about that training. They can do the training later by signing up. If you scroll down, then you've got the Amazon Kindle version. Then you've got more videos that they can watch, which again are going to direct them to the free training. They can beta test coming SEO ebooks. So if you give me your first name, your email, and then what industry or niche that you would like the book to be in. So everything on here is with the single aim of getting people to my training. So you want to have a look at your website and make sure that that's what you're doing, that you're not sending people off to read blogs. I mean, it can certainly look nice as a design feature, but it's a distraction that will lose you clients. So just to summarize that in practice, if the theme has a blog post section on the home page, I remove it. If the theme has links to the blog post in the footer, I remove them. If the theme has links to blog posts in the sidebar, I remove them. And I replace these ones in the footer and the sidebar with links to the most important products and service pages. And then on the home page, I just totally remove it and don't replace it with anything. So the only place that you're going to see a link to the blog is probably in the top navigation or in the footer navigation. So if we go back over to this website, you'll see there's a link there to the blog. That's it. And down here I have a little link to the blog, but I don't have latest blogs and read all my blogs on there. If somebody wants to go to the blog, they very specifically have to click on these links to go to it. Same in this website, because I really don't want people to go to the blog. I don't even have it in this top bit up here at all. If they land on the website on a blog, the only way they're going to be able to get to see any other blogs is by clicking on this tiny blog thing up here. But otherwise, there is no way in the header, footer, or anywhere on this site for people to get to my blog. Because when they get here, I want them to take whatever action that I want them to take from the page. So the key takeaway message is that the blog should help to bring more potential customers to the website and then convert them into leads. We want them to contact you or buy your products, not read more blog posts. In part D, we're going to talk about 404 pages. So this is when someone goes to a page on your site that no longer exists or maybe never existed, and they're shown what's called a 404 error page. So we'll go and have a look at those. So on my Fruitful Online website, it looks like this. Page not found. That page isn't found, and then they can do a search to try and find something else. But what you'll see is that it has this bar here with all these pages up there, so the header navigation, and it has the footer navigation. So by doing that, you're giving people a chance to then be able to go and see something on your website. In some cases, what happens is that when you go to a 404 page, it doesn't have any of this or none of this down here. All it has is this. And then you can't even go to any of these other sections to try and find something else relevant on the page. Again, on my personality types website, it has the header and the top navigation. It even has the sidebar, and it also has the whole footer there. So it makes it a lot easier for people to be able to then go and access something. So to check what happens for your 404 page, you just want to put anything random in the URL. So see on my personality types website up here, I just put a whole stack of J's at the end. And with this one here, I just put that. So that these pages have never existed on these websites, but if you put that in, you'll see what your 404 page actually looks like. So you want to check if the 404 page is just a big white page with nothing but the words 404 error. If it is, then that potential client will be lost forever. Ideally what you want is the following, which is usually standard for a 404 page. You want the menu navigation at the top, some time of text to say that you're sorry it doesn't exist, some kind of search bar or maybe the sidebar, and then the footer at the bottom as well. So that should be the ideal minimum that you have. There are lots of blogs written on having like great or fantastic 404 pages. So if you really want to get into that, then you can do that. But at a minimum, at least have these so that it gives the person the potential to find some other relevant information on your website. So the key takeaway message is that the 404 page is an opportunity to help potential customers find information on your website that no longer exists on the page that they were taken to. So it might be that it was typed in wrong. It might be that you did have a page previously in the past which no longer exists, but we did go through that last week, and how in Google Search Console you can find any real 404 error pages on your website, ones that are getting traffic, and then making sure you redirect that to a page on your site that is real. So the final thing we're going to talk about today is the theme pages and images. So sometimes the theme gives something called demo data and content and images that the website developer may have used in order to develop your site. Now, in some cases, they will remove all of this for you before the site goes live, but other times they don't, and they might leave it there. And so if that happens, you might need to remove or at least set to draft some of the theme content that's not actually being used for your website. Otherwise, what can happen is you get a whole stack of content like that's indexed in Google that has nothing to do with your website. And this brings down like the overall power of your website. So I once actually saw a website that was about financial planning, but it was built on a coffee shop theme. And it had 150 pages that were indexed in Google, but only 10 were about financial planning. So the rest of the pages were the coffee shop, like theme pages and images. So we don't want this. We don't want that at all, because basically Google was super confused about what their website was about, and they were never going to rank for financial planning when their website had a whole stack of pages that were completely irrelevant to financial planning. So what we want to do is you want to go into the back end of your website, and you've got all these sections over here. So if you go into the posts first, then you want to go in there and make sure that all of the posts on your website are posts that you have created that are supposed to be in there. At the moment, mine are draft because I'm moving them over from the other website, but there might be posts in there that when you go and click on them, you'll see that it's some kind of template, but it doesn't actually have anything relevant for your business. So that might be the same in the pages. So you can see that I have only 9 that are published, but I have 58 that are in draft, and they are all the theme pages. So you either want to remove them or put them into draft. So for instance, this is on my Large Hope website. I can go over to the case studies section, which I haven't actually filled in yet. And I can preview that. And so you can see that it's just got this page on there and nothing else in there. And so I don't want somebody to go to that page on my website. Like, I wouldn't want that. And so that's why I've set it to draft until I've actually been able to put something onto it. Same with, let's have a look. Often you might find that it has some kind of, here we go, block quote. And so this is just, some kind of functionality that your theme could have, and it just shows you all the different styles of the block quote. So I don't want that as a page that people can actually get to on my website. So I've set that to draft for now. But once my website is completed, then I would most likely totally delete that from there. Then what I want to do is go through all these other sections. Testimonials, that's a good section for it, where it might have a whole lot of, so here we are. So I haven't put testimonials in here. These are like the standard testimonials that the template has given me. And so if I try and go and have a look at that, we'll see that it shows me, which is nice, what it might look like if I chose to put someone's picture in there and their information. But this is not a real person that has given me a real testimonial. You know, and here's not the point of lorem ipsum, and so they've just got stuff in there that's like placeholder. And so what I want to make sure is that all these testimonials are either in draft like they are now, or that they're totally deleted. Same with any of these other sections. There might be a portfolio section, can go in there. Is that really a portfolio that's yours? Case studies, I can go into the case study section. Now I haven't put any of these in here. This is all just part of what the theme has put in there. And so, you know, I don't have anything to do with cryptocurrency. I can go and preview that. Now, the good thing about it when you're developing a website is that you can go and have a look at whatever the theme has given you, and then you can decide whether you like that, or like, oh, okay, well, I might use this as a template for doing case studies for my clients. But at the moment, that's not real. And so all those case studies are in draft, so they're not actually showing on my website because they're not obviously relevant at all. So you just want to go through all of these sections here that is usually above the contact or appearance section. Sometimes you only have posts and pages, but sometimes you have all these other sections as well. So you just want to go and check them, whatever template, content management system or whatever you're using, make sure that all the pages and posts and everything that's in there is actually relevant and real for your website. Because if you imagine, if I had I've only got 9 pages on here at the moment that are real pages, but if I had all of those drafts published and it was just random templates, it's going to make it very difficult for Google to rank my website. The other section that can have a lot of theme content is the media section. So in your media library, you might find that there is all of the different theme images that you no longer need. So at the top will probably be all the images that you've added in, but you can see for this particular theme for my website, there's like a whole stack of images. Now there may be certain images on here that I have used, but you can see like there's so many images, and these could all be like slowing down my website. If I've got a whole stack of images in here, hundreds and hundreds of images that I'm not actually using at all, that I don't need at all. And so this is something where you would hope that the web developer would already have deleted all of the ones that are not being used on your website. But if you want to go in and check, just make sure that if you delete something that it isn't on some particular page of your website. But when I finish my website, there will be a whole lot of images in here that I can delete that are not being used, that could, depending on how the images are set up, that could significantly improve the speed of my site if I don't have them there because they're not being used. Actually, this is the last one. So the last thing that I'm actually going to get you to do for this week is to use a program or download a program called Screaming Frog, and we're going to use it to actually scrape the content of your site. So it's going to give you a list of all the URLs with their SEO titles and meta descriptions and a whole stack more data. And then what you want to do is go to the checklist, and we're going to paste that into the pages section. So I've got Screaming Frog. I mean, if you don't want to use Screaming Frog, there is also another one called Beam Us Up. So I'll put that in here as well. I'll find out what that one is called. So Screaming Frog, and so then I'm going to go and put my website in there and click on Start here. And then it's going to scrape my site and it's going to bring me back a whole stack of information about my website. Okay, so now it's 100% finished. And what you'll notice is that sometimes, see how it's given me the non-www versions here and the www versions. Now sometimes you might have hundreds of real URLs. All this stuff here, these are not real pages. These are just the plugin pages. Plugins. Theme information, so uploads. So all you want is the ones that are the real URLs. So you can click to export those into an Excel file, and then you can copy and paste them into the checklist, into this business bounce back checklist under the website pages and posts section. If you don't even have Excel or whatever and you can't even download it, then you can copy these. So I can just click on the 4 there. I don't want these ones because they don't have the www dot, so I'm just going to highlight all these ones, and then you can copy that, and then you can go over here and then you can just paste them in there. And then what you can do in this spreadsheet, kind of highlight them all over to the end and then make the columns really small so you can see all the bits that you need. This bit here, which is the SEO title, is one that I want. This bit here, which is the meta description. Now when you do it this way, you don't actually get that title bit. You don't get that row that has kind of what they're actually called. So it might be easier to do it the first time with Excel if you can, so that you can get these headings. But these are the main things that you want to have in this spreadsheet. The SEO title and the meta description. And if you get all that information for your current website, then it's going to make it so much easier next week when we start editing some of this information. So that's it for today. If you found this video useful, please like it and share it. Next week's video will appear here if it's ready. And please do ask questions in the video comments, and I'll speak to you again soon.